footballers, but also this competitive environment has improved of course, the physical shape of all these guys, and also their pockets, because, you know, really a mediocre player of a mediocre team in Spain makes more money than the poor Maradona made in the 80s and 90s, because now everything is better thanks to that we have more competition involved. But not only that, competition also helps us to sort, you know, things out in a way. Because everybody, every football player, every professional football player would like to be, you know, the star of Barcelona or the star of Real Madrid. But, you know, these are the guys who are the stars. Why? I think because they overcome a double competitive pressure. On the one hand, they help their teams, they definitely do, to defeat, you know, teams basically, you know, almost always, because they really win almost all the games. And also, they are really like the best players, and they showed it every game. And they do much more than the other stars of the other teams. There are many players who would like to be in the shoes of Messi or Cristiano or Neymar, but they can't, because really these guys are the best, and through competition we can sort that out. And not only that, for instance, this picture is magnificent for me, because of course it shows one of two of the best players, you know, contemporary. Of course, this one is the better, the best. The other thing is that in this picture, Cristiano and Messi, they are not only competing, they are fiercely competing, but they are also cooperating. The competition they have between each other forces them to give their best and to become their best. It's like, you know, it's like trees in the forest. They have to go as high as they can in order to get the light and to get the air and to get the space they need to grow. And that is something we forget about competition. Competition is not only competition, but it's also cooperation. You become the best you can be when you compete. And that is something we have to really keep in mind. And we'll go back to that in a few minutes. But competition also has some enemies. And we were talking about France. This is unfortunately one of the biggest enemies competition has now. The European Union and Mercosur, which is a trade agreement of certain South American countries, Argentina included, is trying to negotiate a free trade agreement. Free trade agreements have certain problems, I would say, but, you know, they are much better than non-trade, and I tend to favor them because of that. However, according to Mr. Macron, the problem is that South America is thousands of kilometers away. Yeah, I mean, we all know that, and that we do things differently. Yes, that's true. That's why, firstly, that's why you trade and why you compete. And you don't usually go to buy things, you know, from people who do exactly the same that you do. You go for people that do things differently. And this, of course, protectionism is a tax on you. It's not a tax on the producers. I mean, if, for instance, Argentinian beef, which is quite good, is heavily taxed in the European Union, it's not a tax on our producers. It's a tax on you. You either won't be able to buy it, or you will buy it very, very much more expensive. With protectionism, you do to yourself what your enemies would do in times of war. You know, you close your own ports to commerce, so to speak. The Macron mentality, unfortunately, and I won't go very deep in this. We can discuss it later if you want. Comes with this. The European Union has been a magnificent idea. I really support it, but I think trade should be even freer than what the European Union is doing now. The single market mentality, it's a problem, because it's this idea that in order to trade we have to do all of us have to do the same. So we have to have the same regulation, and that is problematic. The liberal faction of Brexit, which I do not favor, but they had a very good point. They wanted mutual recognition between countries. So you produce whatever, a car here in Bulgaria, and you want to sell it to Portugal, and the Portuguese just, you know, recognize that how you produce cars is fine, and that's it. And it's not that from Bulgaria to Portugal and from Sweden to Malta, you have to do all the same. Everything has to be the same. And that is an important point, and that also is related with regulations, of course, and also with taxes. Countries like Ireland are from time to time accused of being like the worst because they have lower taxes, and the next enemy is probably going to be Estonia. In any case, what would happen if you tell me, okay, you could tell me, okay, what you say is okay, is fine, maybe competition is good, but I don't want to compete. I don't want, I don't care about competition. And this has happened in a roadshow event many years ago. We had a very good speaker, Terry Anker. He's an American entrepreneur. He gave a very interesting speech about competition at a university in Thessaloniki. And one professor raised his hand at the Q&A session and said, "We the Greek, we don't want to." I think he knows all the Greek people because he spoke about all in the name of all the Greek. But he said, "We the Greek, we don't want to compete. We like the good life. We want to be relaxed." And Terry replied in a very intelligent way. He said, "Okay, it's fine. If you don't want to compete, that's fine. But you cannot forbid me to compete with you. And of course, that will create you a very big problem." But the other thing, and I really think in that Terry hit the nail in the head, is that's a very important issue. Because how do we do to escape competition? And the only way we can do it is with the use of violence. That's the only way. We have when governments or companies want to escape competition, we become this guy, and that's how we look, because this is what will be applied. This is what will be applied upon us. From the moment I cannot set what are your goals, what are your desires, what you want to do with your life, what are your preferences, there will be necessarily competition. Competition is inescapable. The only way for companies and for countries, so to speak, governments, to avoid competition, to escape competition, is to use coercion. If, I don't know, the train company, the national train company wants to avoid competition, what they have to do is to threat the use of coercion on potential competitors and dissatisfied clients that are trying to find alternatives. That's the only way. There's no other way. And they do it. Sometimes they do it themselves, suing other companies. That's also a very big problem because, big companies have the shoulders necessary to endure a very long judicial process, while small companies, particularly startups, cannot do that. And many of them disappear, and because of these things. And sometimes they do it directly in association with different governments. And that's a very big problem. So, 4 last things regarding competition. The first one is that competition helps us become the best version of ourselves. And that's very positive. And that's a very positive thing for a society and for us as individuals. If we want to escape competition, the only possible, in a free society, the only possible way to escape competition is the use of violence. And that's, at least up to me, using violence is always a very bad idea. Third, when you eliminate competition from the picture, what you create is a complete separation between performance and reward, between what you do and what you get. The providers of X services, of whatever service, is not thinking anymore about how to give you the cheapest and best product they can give you, but they are thinking, okay, how can I stop my foreign competitors to enter the market via tariffs, or which bureaucrat I have to contact in order to destroy my competition, and that is very bad for all of us. And last but not least, this comes from an old movie. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a magnificent movie from Robert De Niro named A Bronx Tale. If you haven't really watched it, it's magnificent. This one was one of the main characters, and his motto was, "The saddest thing in life is wasted talent." And if what I said is correct, and competition helps us improve, rise, when we eliminate competition, a society and us as individuals will tend to mediocrity. And that's a real tragedy, at least up to me. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you to our speakers. We can now proceed to a questions and answers session. May you give the floor to Professor Kumo.
If I can just intervene quickly, it was very interesting to listen to you. Let's look a bit at the counter